In this episode, I'm going to use the world's worst table saw to make some really awesome shaker style cabinet doors. So stick around. Well, about a week has passed, and I have been really busy doing a lot of other stuff. I had a lot of other projects going on, so I'm just now getting back on building the cabinets. Just kind of update you on the process of building the house. I am still waiting for backhoe. I'm supposed to meet with my friend. He's going to look at it and may bring his big machine in, which would actually be pretty good if I can just get him to kind of spend a day and do everything I need to do. In the meantime, I still need to get with DEQ and get a plan in place so I could start my septic and 47 other things. I could probably buy my wire for my power trench, wire for my, or not wire, but conduit, HDPE conduit for water and power. So there's a lot of stuff I can do, but today I'm going to set this camera up. You're going to see me make some cabinet doors, I think all on a table saw. I might use a router too, but probably just a table saw. First, I spent like an hour trying to set this thing up. And if you remember before, my other table saw broke. I broke a part inside of it when I was trying to fix it, and it's just too much trouble to try to track it down. So I just bought another one for 35 bucks. It's not great, but I'm trying to just not spend a ton of money on a table saw until I get this project done, because I want to save up and buy a really nice one, like a SawStop or something. But this is the most grandpa rigged thing I've ever done, probably, at least so far. But it was missing a few things, stuff like that. I had a stand that worked with my other one, and it doesn't work with this one. And so what I did was take and put a piece of plywood, screwed it to the bottom of this saw, and then kind of offset it, and I made these little locking pins. I don't know what you'd call them, but anyway, it works just fine. It's just really kind of hilarious and embarrassing, but it'll do the trick. So I've got my dado stack set up. I've got a 5/16, which gives me just a little bit of play on what is kind of 1/4-inch plywood. They call it something else these days, I don't know, but I've got kind of an assortment of different materials, and most of this will be painted anyway, so I don't need just the absolute tightest possible fit. I'll glue it in, or I will caulk it if it's paint stuff anyway. But anyway, I'm going to set this up. I use my little spacer blocks, and I've got a 1/2 inch high. This is centered in the board, so there's a 1/4 inch on the other side, and then around about that, because it's just barely over 1/4. I don't think it's really even 5/16 because of the way that the blades are together. It's a Harbor Freight thing. This is not the most accurate, but I'm going to set you on time lapse. I'm going to run stuff through. I made a test cut on this, and this is kind of what we're going for. I started at 3/4 inch depth, and so I decided, that's a little too much maybe. But I'm going to end up running all these through, and then I'll probably do the calculations. And true to form, I'm not going to do all this on camera, just show you enough to kind of get the idea of how to do it and what I'm up to. So I'll put you on time lapse. All right, so what I got to do now is measure the doors. And so I know I've got something in my little pad here too, but I've got to measure this is 13 inches, and these are inset. I want there to be 1/8 of an inch on each side of this situation. And so I'll measure to double check, but I've already done the calculations. And this is a pretty easy one because you just take whatever the measurement is and then take a 1/4 inch off. And so let me find it here. These are the lowers around the stove. This frame that's what I'm measuring right now. 13 inches. And I'll do, so it'll be 12 3/4. And then the height of the door, the rail, will be 22 3/4. Now to make these, you've got to add to the rails and then the stiles will be the finish height. So the width you've got to add, I believe, another inch to, because I've got a 1/2 inch dado cut, what you just saw me cut there. So that's how I'm gonna do it. So this will be 12 3/4 plus an inch, so it'll be 13 3/4 that I cut, and then I'll do the dado down to a 1/2 inch. I'll show you that. And it took me forever. I built this little crosscut sled. It's kind of quick and dirty, but it's just plywood that I've cut down. I put this little thing to kind of protect my hand. This is a really junky saw, but I'm gonna make it work. And so I'll set it up. And a lot of times you make your actual cut with this, but it's kind of hard to use. And I've got my chop saw. It has a pretty good blade on it. So I guess I'm going to use my chop saw to cut the dimensions. And then I'll use this setup and put the dado blade in so I can cut the tongue and groove. I'm going to cut all my rails and stiles down, but first I'm going to cut down a test piece so that I can dial in my sled over here on this table saw and get the right depths. Okay, so now what I've got to do, I'm here at the table saw in my crosscut sled, and I've got this test piece with the tongue and the groove, and I've got to get the highest point of the saw teeth just kissing that. It might be just a little tall. I'll sneak up on it. I'm hoping. I think both sides are a little bit different. I kind of messed up there, but I guess I'll figure it out. It's the first time I've done this method, so I'm sure it won't be as easy as some other things. So the other thing I have to account for is how deep that way. And so I've got these little gauge blocks. These are some Amazon cheapos, but they do just fine. Here's what they look like. If you want to try to buy them. White side brass height gauges, 5-piece set. Part number 9800. So anyway, I'm just going to use that and this. See if I can, well, let me find a better stop block. Hopefully my clamp will go down that far too. I might have to get creative. All right, so you can do this. I don't know. You can do this with a single blade. It's just going to take longer. And so the idea is that you sneak up on it. You run it past there. You move till you can't do any more, and probably clean it out like that. I'm going to do this to both sides and just kind of see what I get. Here goes nothing. And this is what I've ended up with, which is it's fine in terms of, well, it's not fine. It's a little too deep. I'll just try to get a close-up so you can see what I'm talking about. It's too deep in terms of, and these just barely fit in there. I mean, be real pretty tight. So I'm going to back the blade down. And then I need to go a little deeper this way too. So I'm going to cut this again, or actually I'll just turn it over. I'll mark it and turn it over. I'm going to back the blade off. Ever so slightly. Try that. And then this needs to go that direction just a smidge too. So I'll put a little line and see how far. Let's try that. All right, here we go. This is embarrassing, but I'm pretty sure I grabbed the wrong gauge block when I set this thing up. Oh, geez. Okay, what is this? Okay, if I have a 5-piece set and there are 4 pieces, that means that something is missing. What the heck? Please hold. That's the 1/2 inch right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So that was 3/8. I'm missing one still, but the other direction. I thought it was 3/4. This goes 1/8 to 1/2. So I need to use this, right? Yeah. Okay. That makes sense, I think. All right, let's try that. It's better, but I'm too deep now. But only on this side. I'm not sure what's going on there. And this looks terrible, but it fits pretty good. It's almost like my blade's got just a touch of an angle to it. You can see that. It's locked in there pretty tight. It's just not, it's not real pretty. This side looks pretty good, but I don't know. I've got a pretty nice gap on that side. I don't think. Let me put it on both ends and see what the measurement is. That'll help me make a decision. Oh, except that I can't because I don't have 2 sides to this. I'll cut another side and then do it. Now it won't fit. This side has a bit of an angle to it. Maybe that was part of why that's why. It's not square. Oh, Lordy. I think I am going to have to raise the blade just a smidge. It seems to be getting worse. I don't know. I'm going to scratch my head, take a break, and come back to it. Okay. So after getting a new stop block, it's just a 2x4, gives me a little bit more to write against. I checked the squareness of everything. The blade, I think, was just a little bit off. So I'm going to try this again. I just set it up, so it might take me a few times to get it dialed in, but I'm going to try this and see if it makes a difference. There we go. This is an absolutely terrible table saw. I need you to know that. You just don't really understand how bad it is. I paid $35 for this heaping pile of garbage, and I'm going to make it work because I don't want to spend money on a nice one until I can buy a saw stop. And so these kind of things are just par for the course when you're trying to build cabinets with a $35 saw that actually has a recall on it, not for any safety issues, except that the motor could catch fire if you push it too hard. So if that happens, you'll know why. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut the rest of this and put it together. I'm not even going to time lapse it. I'm running out of daylight. You'll probably see me tomorrow putting stuff together. So I'm about to put the plywood center is about to cut those out, and here is my cabinet frame. I'm going to measure it, and I got it right at 12 3/4, which gives me an 1/8 inch on each side. And now I'm going to measure the inside, which should be 8 3/4 thereabouts, and in this direction it's 18 3/4. And so what I'll do is add 3/4 of an inch to each side, because my my dado cut, the groove is a 1/2 inch, so I'm gonna add 3/8 on each side to have just a little bit of panel movement, and then that will be, so 18 3/4 plus 3/4 would be what, 19 1/2, and then 8 3/4, so 19 1/2 by 9 1/2. I'll cut that, and we'll put it in the groove and glue it together and clamp it up. Well, I dry fitted this panel, or this door, and now I'm going to glue it up. So I'm going to try not to use any nails. Sometimes if I need to, I'll put little 23 gauge nails in it just to feel a little better about it. But this is a pretty tight fit, considering I've been using the world's worst table saw. All right, so I got everything squared up with my little square there, and then these clamps. I'm going to go get some bigger ones, because these are just almost too little. I need to get more anyway so I can do multiple doors. It's going to be slow going, but I'm going to take a break, and that's it. That's the final product. I'll end up cutting the holes for the hinges, but this is it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. This is the end of this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I think next I'll probably, even though it's out of order, I'll probably build the cabinet carcasses. And so if you've been tuned in, this is kind of cart before the horse, but you know what's new with me.